Rishi Sunak, David Cameron and the rest of this government are prioritising the profits of arms dealers over Palestinian lives. This has to stop. Under the UK's own export licensing criteria, weapon sales must be suspended when there's a clear risk they could be used to violate international humanitarian law. Nothing could be clearer. But this government is still refusing to impose an arms embargo and instead is choosing complicity in Israel's horrific war crimes. They are making a mockery of international law and they must face the consequences of these actions. We continue told that the UK arms exports are small, but the reality is the figure is a lot bigger than the figure quoted in the press, and we're not being given the full picture. The reality is we don't know the full total of arms exports because our arms export licensing system is murky and unaccountable. But we do know that the UK has licensed £448 million worth of exports to Israel since 2015. But this is just single issue licenses. Since 2015, there's also been 62 open licenses. Under open licenses, companies can export as much as they want of specified military equipment without further reporting requirements. Now we know one such license is for components for the F-35s that are currently bombarding Israel. That are currently bombarding Gaza. UK industry makes 15% of each F-35 in business that's been worth at least 368 million since 2016. But this is just one license. There are 61 other open licenses. We do not know the value of those licenses. And we do not know if there's been an increase in it since October the 7th because of a lag in reporting. And we won't know those figures for several months. But what we do know is that arms companies' share prices have reached record highs as a result of Israel's genocide. Government demonises pro-Palestinian protesters and it's introduced so much anti-protest legislation. It is because they are scared of our power. We have to use this power. We have to keep up the pressure both on our government and on each and every arms companies profiting from Israel's war crimes. We cannot allow these arms sales to continue. We must keep up this resistance. Free Palestine!
Free, free! Free, free! 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. And next we have Kate Hudson here representing the campaign of nuclear disarmament, my bad, one of the co-organizers of today's rally. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Taha. So I've got two questions, friends, for this government and this parliament. If you want a ceasefire in Gaza, why are you sending weapons to Israel? And if you want to end the genocide, why are you sending weapons to the people who are doing the killing? Because the truth is, friends, they don't want a ceasefire and they don't want an end to this genocide. And this government is a complete disgrace This parliament is a disgrace, and they are criminal in their complicity with these war crimes. So what's the news today on our mass media? Well, Israel is calling for sanctions on Iran. So today, David Cameron has called for sanctions on Iran. Why hasn't he called for sanctions on Israel for its crimes? Why is the government doing nothing to support the ICJ ruling? Or the UN Security Council resolution for a ceasefire, which Britain actually voted for? But of course, Cameron has jumped to it to call for sanctions on Iran, along with the US and EU. So why? Last week, Iran fired 300 drones and missiles at Israel in retaliation for an attack on their consulate in Damascus that killed 13 people. Iran gave 3 days warning of what they were doing so people could be got out of harm's way. The Iranian attacks killed precisely nobody. Israel has been waging war on Gaza for over 6 months. They've killed 35,000 Palestinians. And that war is continuing today with increased deadly attacks in North Gaza. So where are the sanctions on Israel? This is just double standards and hypocrisy. Friends, we demand sanctions on Israel. We demand an arms embargo. And we have to ask, what will it take to get an end to the killing, to get peace and justice for the Palestinians? Because the policies of this government are a death sentence on the people of Gaza, a death sentence. We demand a change. We demand peace and justice for Palestine. Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Thank you very much.
Comrades, sisters and brothers, my name is Shabir Laka. I'm an officer of the Stop the War Coalition, one of the organisers of today's demonstration. On Saturday night, the United States, Britain and France, along with their allies Jordan and Saudi Arabia, scrambled to defend Israel. Never mind that Israel bombed the Iranian consulate in Syria and killed Iranians. Apparently, the right to self-defense applies only to Israel. Apparently, the massacre of 40,000 Palestinians is not good enough to defend against for our government. No, forget defending Palestinians from 6 months of raining Israeli bombs. Our government has maintained its commitment to keep sending Israel the weapons that it uses to mass murder the Palestinians. And now Israel is preparing a further attack on Iran, all the while continuing its genocide in Gaza. They are taking us to the brink of a wider, more deadly war. But I have good news for you. Rishi Sunak has been on the phone to Netanyahu and he's asked him to show restraint. David Cameron was in Israel today and he asked them to be calm-headed. Just like for the last 6 months, they've been asking them to tone down their genocide a little bit. Well, we're here today to send a message to Sunak, to Cameron, to that little weasel Keir Starmer, and all the morally bankrupt politicians. We are done. We are done with your mealy-mouthed words, with your double standards, with your support for genocide and war. Our democracy means absolutely nothing when the majority of the people in this country support a ceasefire, support ending arms sales to Israel, but our unelected Prime Minister Minister, our unelected Foreign Secretary, and the rest of those cowards in the House of Uncommons continue to do the opposite. Saturday showed us that Israel cannot continue to exist as a belligerent, genocide-committing apartheid state without the US and the UK letting them. Our government is not just complicit in Israel's genocide and warmongering, it is actively facilitating it. But we also know that while we've seen what the solidarity among the imperialists looks like, our solidarity is infinitely stronger. The resilience of the Palestinian people is infinitely stronger. We have and will continue to bring this country to a standstill and to make it ungovernable as long as the merchants of death occupy power. We know that they are terrified of us. That is why they attack our movement. That is why Germany deported Ghassan Abu Sitta. That is why the institutionally racist Metropolitan Police tried to criminalize our protests. So I hope to see you all on the streets for the national demonstration on the 27th, because we need to make it even bigger than any demonstration we've had. We need to make the workplace day of action on the 1st of May even bigger than the last. And I say to certain trade union leaders, being silent on Israel's genocide is not in the interest of the working class. Supporting NATO and AUKUS is not supporting the working class. Every pound spent on weapons is a pound not spent on wages or the NHS. Arming Israel and exploiting workers are two sides of the same coin. So get off your fence and join your members on the streets. Our movement is only as strong as it is united, as it is principled, and as it is organized. So I urge you all today to join the Stop the War Coalition and get involved, because if we are going to win, if we are going to beat the warmongers, if we are going to free Palestine, then we need every single one of us. And let this today, like every demonstration that we've had, be a warning to the ruling class. Because we will not rest, we will not stop marching, we will not stop fighting, we will not stop raising the Palestinian flag in every village, in every town, in every city, until we have taken down this rotten government, until we have dragged every one of them before the Hague, and until Palestine is liberated. Solidarity.
Thanks very much, Sabir. Thank you very much. That's absolutely amazing. So a big welcome in particular to all trade unionists here this evening. I'm very proud as a member of Unison, the trade union Unison, to welcome our next speaker, the president of Unison, my trade union, Libby Nolan. Welcome.
Thank you. It's an honour to come and stand here with you, and I don't care how much it rains on our heads when we know what people are suffering in Gaza. We will carry on through the rain and the storms and the rubbish that this government throws at us in whatever way it comes. And the horrors and atrocities that we are seeing on our social media, on the news, those horrors perpetrated by Israel. As we watch what the horrors of what Israel levied down onto Gaza, and we are meant to stay silent. We will never stay silent. We will always shout, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! The Gaza Strip is already one of the most densely populated areas in the world. Now they have crushed 1.5 million people into Rafah, and they're meant to exist there. What is this? Not anything near a genocide. I'm not sure what it isn't. Israel's assault has destroyed and damaged hospitals, healthcare centres, services, no water, sanitation. You have a situation of 80,000 women pregnant every day.
180 women giving birth without medical aid. I say again, free Palestine! Free Palestine! I'm here today with two of my comrades from the National Executive of Unison. I've got Liz, who's the international chair of that committee, and Julia, who's the vice president of Unison. And we promise you we will not stop standing on a platform. We will not stop telling this government that they're appalling. Appalling, I say to Rishi Sunak, you need to get out of office now. And to the incoming Labour government, I say that they have to get off their knees and start doing their job. If they're representing the working class, then they need to do their job. Free Palestine! So on the 27th, let's meet again on the streets of London. Let's call for an end to the arms trade into Israel. Let's make sure that they stop arming Israel, that there's a ceasefire now. Make our voices loud and clear. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Oh, solidarity to all of you. Solidarity. And please remember, if you're in a trade union in your branches, please take your banners in. Take your Palestinian flags and bring them onto bring your colleagues and your friends within those branches on the 27th. We need to make it the biggest one that has been so far yet. Those people in Gaza are waiting for us to save. Make sure there's a ceasefire now. So again, free Palestine!
Thanks very much indeed, Libby. Free! 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 Friends, our next speaker is one of the few MPs who's been a really consistent supporter of the rights of the Palestinians. Please welcome John McDonnell, MP for Hayes and Harlington.
Thank you. I want to make a simple statement, really. Our focus has been obviously what's happened in Gaza, the 13,000 children that have died, the 32,000, maybe 34,000 dead overall, of course, and the children at the moment that are dying of malnutrition. That's been our focus. But we must also talk about what's happening in the West Bank. Earlier this week, a young Israeli child was found dead. And what then happened is that the Israeli settlers went on the rampage. Now, we believe at least 4 Palestinians were killed, but there were dozens of others were injured. We've already had 460 Palestinians killed in the West Bank in this last period. What happened this week was the ultimate disgrace, though, because whilst the Israeli settlers went on the rampage, killing and maiming and also sexual and violence being perpetrated as well, the IDF soldiers stood to one side. And then in addition to that, from meeting with Israeli colleagues this morning who are supporters of ours, we now know that the peace observers, the legal observers from the various Israeli peace groups have now been banned from the West Bank, and some of them have been arrested. So what's happening on the West Bank, we must never lose the focus. In Parliament today, we asked the government, what are you doing with regard to sanctions against the settlers illegally expanding their settlements across the West Bank? The minister's response was that the government is exerting sanctions. So we asked, how many settlers have been sanctioned in this whole period? The response was 2. Out of the tens of thousands of Israeli settlers illegally occupying the West Bank, only 2 have been identified for sanctions. And we don't even know what the level of sanctions were. What's happening in the West Bank, just as in Gaza, are war crimes. the murders of Palestinians on the West Bank is the equivalent to of the war crimes taking place in Gaza. So we must never forget, in solidarity, the Palestinian struggle in the West Bank as well. And we need to be saying to Netanyahu and his cabinet that we hold them responsible, yes, for the murders of the Palestinians in Gaza, but also the West Bank. And I tell you, I want to live long enough to see Netanyahu and the Israeli cabinet in The Hague prosecuted for war crimes. Because this is a scar, a shameful scar on the whole of the West, and UK governments and others have failed to act effectively to end this war, bring about an immediate ceasefire, but also hold those war criminals to account. Solidarity.
From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. From the sea to the river. From the sea to the river.
Next up, we have Janine from PYM, Palestinian Youth Movement. Thank you very much.
Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Every year since 1974, on April 17th, Palestinians and people of conscience around the world commemorate Palestinian Prisoners' Day. As of April 2024, there are 9,400 Palestinian prisoners held by the Zionist state. Shame! More than half of these are children. Shame! And of the 9,400 Palestinian prisoners currently detained, over half were detained after October 7th. Shame! This year we commemorate Palestinian Prisoners' Day in the context of thousands of our people having been abducted and tortured by Zionist forces since the start of this genocide. Shame! This year we also commemorate Palestinian Prisoners' Day in the context of the martyrdom of Palestinian revolutionary and intellectual Walid Daqqa, who was martyred in between occupation prison walls. Shame! Walid Daqqa's body is still being held by the Zionist regime, who are insisting on holding on to his body until he completes his sentence. Shame! So I want to read an excerpt from a statement that was released by Walid Daqqa's family yesterday. To our people, the Palestinian people, our Arab nation and the supporters of our cause worldwide. 10 days have passed since the announcement by the occupation authorities through the media and without any official notification to us until this moment of the martyrdom of the prisoner Walid Daqqa in Ramleh on April 7, 2024, after 38 years and 14 days of his captivity, despite the end of his actual sentence on March 24, 2023. As we address you as the family of the prisoner Walid Daqqa, we realize that Walid's journey continues regardless of how he is described, as a fighter, a prisoner, or a martyr. In all cases, Walid continues to provide us and the world with the highest examples of loyalty to the Palestinian cause, the cause of justice, freedom, and liberation, along with his brothers, comrades, and martyrs in the struggle, captivity, and martyrdom. His transition from one state to another in the transformations of his body will not change his stance, the compass of his heart, or the direction of his soul towards the eternal quest for freedom. And the reason I want to read this excerpt is because in the Palestinian liberation struggle, we understand our prisoners to be the compass of our struggle. They light the path to our freedom and liberation.
And so we're here today to say we will continue to lead by their example and draw strength from their sumud until Palestine is free from the river to the sea. Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Free, free! Free, free! Thank you very much.
Thanks very much indeed, Janine. I'm now going to read a message from one of our great supporters who unfortunately can't be here with us this evening. This is from Diane Abbott, MP. She says, "Thank you all for coming this evening, and I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person. Firstly, I want to salute you and this movement. It is truly inspiring. You should applaud yourself for your resilience, your tenacity. You refuse to be deflected by smears, by diversions, or by hurdles put in your way. There are events taking place now that will be notorious in history, but your role will be held up as a shining example. We have learned a lot in the last few months, perhaps too much. One thing we have learned fairly recently is about the role of Western governments in this conflict, especially the role of the United States. The Israeli government wanted to immediately respond to the attack from Iran, which was itself a retaliation to the attack on the Iranian consul in Damascus. Incidentally, this reminds me of some very old graffiti on a wall near where I grew up in London. On the wall, in big capital letters, was written, "An eye for an eye, and soon the whole world goes blind." We have to break that cycle. But you know who can? Joe Biden can, or any US president can. The US is the most fearsome military machine the world has ever seen. It is also the main financial backer, the chief diplomatic support, and the main supplier of weapons to Israel. But when Netanyahu said he wanted to attack Tehran, Biden said no. Guess what? It didn't happen. Biden said, if you do this, you're on your own. This tells us a lot. Israel cannot attack a country like Iran without US backup. Israel cannot carry on the war indefinitely in Gaza without US supplies. Israel cannot mount its attacks in the region without US say-so. The flip side of all this is the US could end the suffering tomorrow. The idea that a few dozen settlers can block the crossing points against the will of the US is farcical, a sickening farce. The US could end it all tomorrow, but for selfish reasons of its own, it refuses to end the suffering. For the US and its allies like Britain, voting for ceasefire does not mean anything. Well, friends, we must make it mean something. Keep arguing, keep protesting, keep writing, keep going on local radio stations. Don't stop. Our resolve to fight for peace must be greater than their resolve for war. In that way, peace can win. Peace will win. Thank you.
London, make some noise!
Right, so I've got some time, so I wanted to do a little spoken word piece, if that's all right. It's untitled, I can't lie to you, it's still in progress, but it makes sense. I sometimes wish I was Batman. Not care about the rich ruling the poor and acting like I'm doing the right thing, hiding in the shadows, telling people, if you want me, shine a light in the sky and I'll come. And before they finish telling me, I'll disappear just as quick, back to my fortress, protected by my millions. But the reality is, to be a real hero, the rich and powerful are the first that need to crumble. I don't see the point in running after some 2-2 drug dealer when the person putting in the law against said criminal is committing genocide over genocide. Oh look, it's gone worldwide. When you thought one country was enough, try 6 spread over 2 continents. I'm talking Congo, Sudan, Palestine, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria. And that's just right now. God only knows what I haven't mentioned, not forgetting that this is an inherited trait passed down generation over generation, and it's not just one country, no. You got UK, USA, Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, all complicit, and God knows who else. I sometimes wish I could pick up a wand and make something disappear. Guess I have more to learn from the West. But Harry Potter is just a story from a mind wandering on a train. We are here as a nation. Let our minds wander in unity. For he who shall be not named is not a character. It was an idea formed. It was an idea formed from an individual that became a movement and now runs the world. Zionism, it's not Judaism. They renounced that name. Put a new face on terrorism. Freedom is the birth from liberation. When we rise, we're taken out one by one. It's silent, seen as a political assassination. So no further investigation needed. And if they kill us, and if they can't kill us, they lock us up and throw away the key and call it a justice system. But raise your fists and let your voices, and don't let your voices fall silent. Resistance is not terrorism, it is our right as an oppressed people. When I say we, I don't mean Palestinians. The root cause of poverty and famine in Africa wasn't due to a political war. It was done behind closed doors on papers signed by hands, manipulated with lies, lies of power, lies of freedom, lies that are being shown today for what they truly are.
Free, free! Free, free! 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sahar. Thank you very much indeed. And now, friends, I'm proud to welcome our final speaker for this evening's rally. Please wave your flags in the air, hold high your banners and your placards, and give a really big welcome and show your appreciation to Ben Jamal, Director of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign.
Thank you, Kate. Friends, I want to thank you for coming out. Again, we came here tonight to Parliament with a very specific demand, a demand we have been making for years, a demand that is now echoing across the corridors of Parliament. Stop arming Israel. Now, we have been marching and rallying and boycotting for over 6 months now, together, demanding a ceasefire to end the genocide in Gaza. But friends, together, we have been campaigning for justice for the Palestinian people for many, many years, building a movement of solidarity whose strength has been made manifest across these past 6 months, whose strength has grown and expanded to new heights over the last 6 months. But we know that history did not begin on October the 7th, and we know that this genocide is built on the foundations of 75 years of colonization, ethnic cleansing, occupation and dispossession, all established on a fundamental principle which is at the heart of the Zionist ideology and the Zionist project, that one people, Jewish people, have rights, supremacist rights, and another, Palestinians, have none and can be treated as less than human. Our role as the solidarity movement here in the UK is to end all UK complicity with that system of oppression, end the complicity of our government, end the complicity of our public bodies, the universities, the pension funds that invest in companies supporting the infrastructure of apartheid, and end the complicity of those companies themselves like Barclays Bank, which invests millions in companies supplying weapons to Israel. But a hallmark of the complicity of successive UK governments is the two-way arms trade with Israel. Now, you know that the regulations that the government keep telling us are the strongest in the world, the regulations governing the export of arms, make it clear that arms should never be sold to a state where there is a risk that they will be used in violation of international law. It has been clear for decades that exporting arms to Israel breaches those guidelines. But friends, it is a mark of new levels of illegality, new levels of moral depravity, that 6 months into this genocide, we still sell weapons to Israel. Even after the slaughter of 33,000 Palestinians, even as Israel uses starvation as a weapon of war, leaving the entire population of Gaza facing catastrophic hunger, even as Israel stands trial in the world's highest court for the crime of genocide, and even after Israel turns its weapons on medics and journalists and aid workers